But like I indicated, it's been a busy time in Parliament. And one of the things many people, even those in the international community, thought about was that the bill, the popular bill known as the Promotion of Proper Human Sexual Rights and Ghanaian Family Values Bill, would be dealt with on the very first day. So there was a lot of international reporting on Tuesday about Parliament in Ghana to decide on one of the toughest anti-LGBTQ bills globally and all that. But it seems that there's been some pressure that's being brought to bear on the MPs. Let's hear from the Right Honourable Speaker of Parliament, Alban Bagbin.
I am very convinced that the law that will come out of all this, if any, will protect the culture and values of our people and the Ghanaian identity. It's a law, I believe, that will also take into consideration the human rights and freedoms that have been guaranteed under our Constitution.
But one of the things that the Speaker has indicated is the transparency in which the decision is made on the anti-LGBTQ plus bill.
We will try not to allow any filibustering of this bill. The sitting of the committee will be public, and the decision of this House will be public. We will want to know where each member of Parliament stands.
And that's the Right Honourable Speaker Alban Bagbin there. So I'll turn to the Honourable Tobu. Some may question this declaration of the Speaker to determine that the voting on this bill or the position of the MPs, each and every MP without exception on this bill, must be made public. Is that fair? If there are members who don't want their position to be made public, should it be for the Speaker to determine that it must be public?
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the opportunity to make some few comments about this very important bill that is before Parliament, simply called the anti-LGBTQA plus bill. Why are laws made? Laws are made to stabilize society, to create that social cohesion, to be able to let us live within some defined limits so that we don't behave like we are in the jungle. And anything that offends the collective conscience of society, gradually laws are made to curb the excesses. So we are living in a country called Ghana. Ghana has an identity. We have a culture. We have our national values. And nobody can come from somewhere to come and tell us that we should live like some other countries. We should live like some other people. We are a unique people, distinguished for that matter, and we ought to protect our own identity. We ought to protect our family values. We ought to protect our culture, respecting the rights of any other person within our domain. Anti-LGBTQ, see, the problem about the bill is the fact that people do not understand what we want to do. We want to protect the Ghanaian culture. We want to protect the Ghanaian value. We want to protect our unique identity. And the bill is there. Any bill that goes to Parliament, the intention is that it will become law. That is why it is there. When you put a bill before Parliament, it is referred to a committee, they look at it. This particular bill, for instance, is open to the public. People are submitting memoranda, ideas. People are contributing to it. And I'm very convinced that the day that this bill will become law, it will be so comprehensive and exciting that people will understand that this is the latest law that brings sanity to a Ghanaian space, the Ghanaian cultural space, for instance. Why will somebody say that I want to be LGBTQ practitioner and my rights must be respected? Nobody is going to take any right away. All the laws that we pass in this country, even if you are an armed robber, your rights are respected. If you are arrested for having robbed people, your rights will be respected. But the law will say, for having committed this offense, this will be the penalty. So we are going to serve you good with the penalty. But that doesn't mean that your rights will be violated. No. Nobody will be violating anybody's rights. But the moment it is criminalized and it becomes the law, when you are caught in the act, the penalty thereof will follow. So we don't really have a problem. And I'm sure that the moment it is done at the committee level and it comes to plenary, it will be an open debate. You know, in Parliament, there are only two things that calls for secret voting. One, if you are putting somebody in office, or if you are even taking somebody out of office. That one, the Constitution says it should be secret voting. Apart from that, Parliament is a master of its own rules. If Parliament decides that because of the public euphoria that this bill has created in this country, every constituency wants to see what is our MP's position. And the MP's position must reflect the desire of the constituents. As I said, the people of West have told me in the face, make sure you support to polish up that bill. And if it is time for you to vote, vote for the bill to become law. So that if it goes to the president and the president is taking hours to assent to it to become law, that is the president's own view. But in Parliament...
But that is the question I asked.
Yes.
Should that kind of pressure be put on MPs in respect of this bill, knowing fully well that we've never really seen any pressure being put on MPs to pass other bills? We have serious problems with domestic violence. We have serious problems with sexual violence against women and girls and even boys. TV3 had been pursuing this sodomy story in the Savannah region for 3 weeks before we actually got a statement from the gender ministry. I never heard any ultimatum. I never heard any declaration that MPs must all vote for the domestic violence bill. So that is where there's a certain lack of fairness maybe. And it seems there's a certain pressure being put on MPs. Is there pressure?
No, there is no pressure. The public, the 30 million Ghanaians are excited about the fact that something that is actually becoming a threat to our very existence, something that is actually becoming a threat to our very nature, MPs must take it up and protect Ghanaian culture.
But we have laws against unnatural carnal knowledge.
Yes.
I mean, there are views and it's supported by law. We have laws against unnatural carnal knowledge. We know that in this country, the laws that regulate marriage indicate what is applicable under marriage. And certainly it's not about marrying a man marrying a man or a woman marrying a woman. There are laws that indicate ABC, and all those things almost seem redundant if you look at the bill. We already have all these laws. So there's the view about why are we really doing this?
We want a comprehensive act, or a comprehensive legal status that will actually address many of these concerns. You know, they say LGBTQA+. Okay? If they say plus, what does it mean? I've told people, you know the LGBTQ. Do you know what the plus is? The plus is telling you that many more are to come. We want to cut it. We are cutting it straight, and in Ghana, it doesn't matter how many you want to add. You can continue adding, but you can't practice it in Ghana. It is an illegality to practice it in Ghana, period.
I'm glad you said that.
Yes.
Because it's already an illegality. So the question is, why do you then need new legislation?
We want to make it more comprehensive and more understanding to even ordinary people, that you don't do this in this country.
But aren't we rather criminalizing people's what they may be identified as? So everybody as a human being, with our hands, our heads, we have, you know, the right to free speech, right to, you know, to think, right of movement, and all those things. The fact that a person has a different sexual orientation from us, does that mean we must criminalize them as a human being? Let
me give you this story. There was a young man in my policing. I met a young man who was an armed robber. He told me a story that shocked me. He said, I don't rob from poor people. I rob from the rich to balance society. In my village, I am a philanthropist. I don't need the money. I rob, sell the cars, I rob people, pick their cars, sell the cars, go home to my village, buy tractor, and go and farm for people, buy fertilizer and distribute for people. And that is what I do, because I think that this world is not fair. I looked at him. He said, yes, I am to robbery because I think that society is not fair to many people. So I'm trying to create equity by contributing my own code by getting into robbery. And I said, well, the law says robbery is criminal. So you are going to be jailed. And he was actually jailed. But what I'm saying is that the fact that you think is right doesn't mean that society will be better with that thought of yours. You want to think that I want to become like a child. trans child, if you want to call it that way. Okay? It's a trans that is even sometimes so much complicated. You sit down and say, yes, I am a man, but look, I think that this is a woman in a man's body. And you believe that this is a woman in a man's body. And you believe it so strongly that you actually become a woman. And you can even go to hospital to say, I want to change my sexuality to become a woman. That's trans thinking. It's a very dangerous thing for society. It can be practiced anywhere in the world. But we are saying that please respect our sovereignty. Respect that this is an independent country, Ghana. And we are saying by our own values and our national culture, this is not acceptable. Take it or leave it. If I come to your country and I want to marry two, all right, you say it's polygamy. It's not allowed here. But in Africa, people could marry up to 4. Even my Muslim brothers can marry up to 4. What about
polygamy in Ghana is allowed in the traditional sense. It is when you want to come under the ordinance that you can't marry more than one.
Yes. If you go to the,
so it's not fair
UK,
to use the polygamy argument.
No, I'm saying that if you go to
at the end of the day, polygamy is allowed. No one has stopped any man.
In the UK, they have the mistress.
Yes.
I am saying
so
many of the people who are pushing against the bill are people from foreign countries who believe that they are right and we are wrong. And we are saying that in your country you can be right because that's what your law says. In our country, we are saying that we want to pass a law that says this cannot be practiced here. So if you like it, fine, take it. If you don't like it, don't complain too much because this is Ghana.
Okay, let me stop you there. I'll come to you, Mr. Thompson, but let's hear from Professor Kwesi Prempeh because he belongs to the group of 8 rights groups and intellectuals and also CSO leaders who filed a memorandum with Parliament about their position on the bill, and there are others as well who also take that position. So first, Professor Prempeh, do you think that members of Parliament are being unduly pressured, especially since the Speaker has now declared that this vote will be done in public?
Oh, I mean, I think there's no question that from the beginning, even before the bill, I think, was laid, you know, the Right Honourable Speaker, a very good friend, had even made promises about when the bill was going to be passed. I mean, this of course was completely out of line for a speaker. Our speaker is not the Speaker of the House of Representatives in the US. It's not Nancy Pelosi. Nancy Pelosi is a member of Congress elected. He votes, he participates in debates. That's their system. So she can have an opinion about a bill and express it and promise and do all kinds of things to her constituents. Our speaker is not of that kind. Our speaker actually is like a referee, like an umpire in debates in the House. And it is quite unseemly for him to be the person promising when the bill will be passed, it will be passed by all means, all kinds of stuff. Right? I think from the very beginning, the speaker has acted inappropriately in this matter. The other point is that, look, there's nothing special about this bill. We live in a country where the Constitution had required from 1993, when we moved to the Fourth Republic, that there be enacted by Parliament a law dealing with spousal division of property among spouses and all of those things in divorce and stuff like that. It has taken how many years for that to happen? It hasn't even happened yet, right? We had a domestic violence bill that you referred to, which took the better part of 10 or so years or more to become law. The RTI bill, the Right to Information bill, languished in Parliament for over a decade. 10, yeah. It was supposed to enforce a constitutional right, a right embedded in the Constitution, for people to have access to information about public affairs, about how the country is run, about how agencies are doing their work. It languished in Parliament for over a decade. And then we're supposed to, this populist bill, now is supposed to be what? Rushed through Parliament. It's supposed to be, some special bill. How is that special? Just because there is this, populist outcry demand for the bill doesn't make it special. It has to join the queue. There are very important public policy matters that we must handle. And Parliament has a number of things to deal with. In the common law tradition, actually, normally private members' bills really don't even get the kind of priority that government bills get. We were all very strongly in favor. We strongly advocated since the 1990s. We've advocated for private members' bills to be allowed. I have written, copiously on this matter, right? Only for that, for the door or the gate to be open, and what do we see? This kind of populist bill now being, essentially almost, it's not only the bill driven by a lot of populist surge, but now you want to use populist means to pass it, rush it through Parliament, do all kinds of things. Listen, there is no reason why this bill should get any special treatment from the Speaker or from any member of Parliament. Right? I, in principle, am in favor of members of Parliament, the votes that they cast on matters, all matters, to be known. Mm-hmm. Because if you are a representative of a constituency, you represent us in Parliament. That's the principle. If you represent us in Parliament, then we must know how you're representing us. It has to apply to everything. There shouldn't be special rules for this bill, special, dispensation made for this bill. It doesn't deserve it. There is no reason why it should be given that kind of dispensation. If we want to have every vote in Parliament, including votes to approve end of service benefits, vote to approve Article, 170, whatever, entitlements for members of Parliament, all of those things must be made public. If that is the rule, I have no problem. If you're saying that we will make every vote in Parliament public, we will know what every member of Parliament vote is on every matter, except those that are constitutionally excluded, as mentioned by the Honourable Member of Parliament, sorry, then I'm all for it. But to make special rules for this bill, as if it is some, bill that is so special and so important for our national existence, I completely disagree. It must join the queue. It took us 10 years to get RTI, if it took us 10 or more years to get domestic violence bill, I don't have a problem with this taking as long. First of all, I don't even think there is any need for it at all. There is really, I have not been persuaded that there is a mischief that this bill is curing. It may be people are making all kinds of arguments, circulating videos from country, San Francisco, whatever. I want to know the mischief in Ghana that this is curing today. I haven't seen it. So there's the urgency for this kind of bill and this kind of process, change the process for this bill because it's so special. I don't see it. What is the point of this bill? And why is it so special? It must join the queue. Let's deal with more important matters.
All right. Let me come to Mr. Thompson. So, but for you, I'm not demanding that you declare a position or anything, but I think it's more about government. There's a sense that there are concerns about the implications for Ghana. In fact, when I spoke to the Honorable Majority Leader on Monday about this and raised that question with him, his view was, we are not there yet. There's still a lot of work to be done on this bill, but there's been no major comment from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the Attorney General's office. There's been a lot of scathing international reporting on Ghana. And I'm just wondering what the implications could be. We saw the hula baloo 2 weeks ago about rejection of MPs' visas. I mean, let's face it, if that was really the reason, we all knew that could happen.
Jifa, I don't know what you want the Minister for Foreign Affairs to say about this, because everything is in Parliament. I mean, as
Professor Prempeh
said, this thing is being rushed, and we're not looking at a nitty-gritty of whatever is going on. We need to yes, look at the bill in its entirety, because I think there are certain clauses that have been put in there that will not help people in general. And it's not going down well with us. And a lot of people have complained about it. But the moment...
Can you give an example of a clause that maybe you think hasn't gone down well?
It's like some, one of the... I'll just get it here.
For instance, I know one problematic clause is that a family member is required to report
the daughter, the son,
or relative that
has that which I think is not... I mean, if unfortunately your daughter or your son decides that, listen, I'm going to be gay, I mean, can you really throw the person out of your house? If you've sent the person outside to UK or US or anywhere and they decide that they've toned that line, are you going to say that because my daughter or my son has gone that way, I'm going to disown the child or something? Let's be realistic and let's face life as it is. We are calling for change of attitude and so many things in life. I'm not saying yes, we should support it or be against it, but let's tone down, because we are making a whole hula baloo out of this, and I think it's like creating a mountain hole out of this whole LGBTIQ plus thing that is going on. It's a populist way of energy. It's a populist way of trying to show off that, listen, I'm a member of parliament and I've brought up this and it's going down well and everything. And they are trying to do it as if it's an MPP NDC thing. Because you realize that most places when you go, they'll say that, oh, but it's Sam George who brought this bill up and it's majority supported by the NDC. It's like MPP is quiet on it. MPP is not saying anything. You are not happy with that criticism.
You are not happy with the criticism that there's a perception that MPP members of parliament haven't thrown their weight vociferously behind the bill.
Because they've read it and they've realized, like what I'm saying, I can't throw my child out, or I can't go and report my child that, listen, my child is gay or my child is going this way. Some of them are psychological things that you can work on and let the child toe the line or come back into order. So you don't just quickly rush because you want to have some populist way of sending some signal out that, listen, we are working, we are on top of our job, we know what we are about, so we are going to, we just sit and write something.
You think this is politicized?
I believe it's being politicized now, and it's being between MPP and they are trying to run it as a populist type of thing. That, oh, it's MPP people who they are gay, they are in for the gay rights and everything, and it's like NDC people are anti-gay type of thing. It's not helping the country. When you are debating things or when you are bringing out things, you look at it in its entirety. That's why I said that the bill in its entirety is problematic. There are so many issues in there, which you've even named one now. That when you are reading it, you realize that
if you are not gay but you advocate
even
for
if you
them,
talk on it on TV and everything, you can be queried for it. You can be picked up for it, and all these are problems that, I mean, come on.
So for you, there's still some work to be done.
A lot of work to be done.
We should take our time and do the work.
And then when I was speaking to Honorable about it, I told him that, listen, the bill in its entirety is problematic. Let's look at it. Let's sit down and analyze it and go. And he said, oh, there's a committee that is going to work on that and everything. True. Which then I said that, yeah, that is a fair thing. But let us not make it as if it's a political thing. One side is for and one side is against. This is not a political thing. This is something we are looking at it at its entirety. Already, we even have certain laws in our books that already is against some of these things, like what you mentioned, the
natural canal
knowledge, yes, the marriage institution, and all these things. So why don't we just fine tune those things that could also, go a long way, looking at the next 5-10 years.
So we should probably amend what the current laws is, as opposed to writing a whole new one.
We've always been saying that, listen, the Constitution has so many things that needs to be amended, because we've been running it for how many years now? The whole of this Fourth Republic. And so we need to really look at the Constitution and amend certain things to suit the current trends and our needs.
Okay.
Instead of trying to create just a few words together, putting a few words together and saying that, no, we should go by this. The speaker is fine by saying that, listen, let's make it public. And
I think I agree with Professor Prempeh that if that is the case, now let us see the vote on everything. Then we know where our MP stands on illegal mining, domestic violence. I think that's
I'm fully supporting. Yesterday we were having a chat somewhere with some journalists and everything. And once we were talking, one of the things they brought up, and it was quite funny, he also brought it up that, listen, when you people are passing your ex gratia, you don't publicize it. You don't make it as an open vote. But when it comes to this, you think we should make it there's an open vote. Let's do it for everything instead of just narrowing it to what you think it should. And the speaker too, he should get the consensus of everyone. It shouldn't be as if he wants to impose it on them because, yes, he is the speaker. But let every member come up. Yes, we should do it a public vote or we should not. And they should vote upon it. Okay. And then it comes out.
Honorable Tobu, your point, and then I'll give H. Kwesi Prempeh the final point.
Let me just cite an example to be able to make a point. In the United Nations, there is something we call sexual exploitation and abuse. It's a very serious offense that if you are caught in it, you'll be repatriated immediately. And they will follow up to ensure that your home country will deal with you. Sexual exploitation and abuse, the rule is that if I am aware that you are involved in sexual exploitation and abuse and I fail to report, I will also be held responsible. This is at the international level. It's accepted. And when you find it in the bill in Ghana, you say it's not accepted. Internationally, it's a principle.
That is against somebody. Somebody's been abused. It's not consensual. This one is about somebody's consensual thing, and yet you are required to report it.
We are talking about consensuals that damages the country's own cultural values and identity. Listen, look, this is a bill. I don't even see the reason why we are talking so much about it. If you have a draft, and I give you a draft and you say the draft is not good enough, that is why it is called a draft. If you have a bill and you think that, no, I have to make some contributions to make it a better bill so that when it becomes law, it becomes comprehensive enough to deal with it, to curb the mischief that we are intending to curb. Please write memoranda, make suggestions. At the end of the day, when the committee reviews it and brings it to plenary, the 275 MPs will debate it. At the end of the day, we are going to vote. And when we vote and it is passed, we'll send it to the president for him to assent. So for me, I don't see it to be a problem at all. Let's allow it to lie. The time is coming. Prof and Co has written. A lot of people, a lot of organizations, civil society groups, they've written. We have volumes of memoranda, and we are reviewing all that to inform a very clear decision as to how to progress. But when it is placed in plenary, clause by clause, we are going to look at it till the end, and when we conclude, we are going to take a vote on it, and then it becomes a law that is passed for the president to assent.
Okay, thank you, and that's a nice point to end. Professor H. Kwesi Prempeh, final point from you. You've said that this bill should join the queue, but then there's going to be a long, drawn-out process. For you, if the parliament decides to rush it, is it realistic to see it being passed at the end of 9 weeks? Is that too much to expect?
No, absolutely. I would be surprised if this bill was passed in this session of Parliament. I mean, there's really no reason for it to be rushed through Parliament. I mean, it's easy to be a member of Parliament and want to see this passed. It's a matter of your self-interest. Your constituents want to see you. You represent only one constituency in the country. The government, on the other hand, represents the entire country. And then Ghana is not just some island. I hear people talk about sovereignty and all these things. Absolutely. But we are part of an international community. We are bound by certain norms in that community. Some of them are legal norms that we have subscribed to as a country. So the government, MPs trying to force the hand of government. Say, oh, the Attorney General, we haven't heard from you, we haven't heard from the President. The President doesn't represent a single constituency. He doesn't have to be populist. The reason why I think it's appropriate for the government to not behave in the manner in which some MPs are behaving is that it has to take a lot of things into consideration. The executive represents Ghana abroad. That's part of the job of the head of state, to represent the country abroad. It must make sure that the things that we do here conform to certain norms that we have signed up to as a country. So it's entirely appropriate for the government not to be towing the same populist line that MPs are towing. It's entirely, I mean, an MP, you can actually really privately hate this bill, but you can still come publicly and pander to your constituents because you want to be re-elected. That's fine. But that's not what a government is there for. So this attempt to stampede everybody into action, to get Oh, the Attorney General, we want to hear from you, we want to hear from the President, we want to hear from the government. That is not how governments operate. You can do your own thing as an MP to pander to your constituents. But this is something that has serious ramifications, not just for a section of our population, right? The government's duty is to ensure protection for everybody in this country, to ensure that the lives, the limb, property, security of everybody is protected. This bill already, even before being passed, has given right to all kinds of vigilantism. You have people being molested, being beaten, some allegedly being raped.
Yes, I'm not for it.
And we see, strangely, silence from both the proponents and the supporters of this bill. The government doesn't need to get into this kind of bill. It needs to take its time, weigh issues. After all, this is a private member's bill. If the government wanted to bring a government bill because it saw that there was a problem, it would have brought one.
Okay.
It is your own bill you have brought. You shouldn't stampede the government into acting in the same manner that you are. You may perceive a problem from your angle, and the government may not necessarily perceive the same problem. So this whole idea of rushing government, rushing MPs, rushing everybody, let us do this, to please who?
Right.
And this whole sovereignty argument. There are weighty things on our table. We are entering the post-COVID era. We are in debt. I've seen a memo from an international investors group, warning us. But look, these are people the bondholders who buy our Euro bonds. And they are entitled to express their opinion about these too. So look, we are worried about this that we have seen. When Twitter chose Ghana over Nigeria, Nigerians were complaining, why is small Ghana? And what did they say? They didn't come to Ghana because we are a bigger economy than Nigeria. They said they came here because we are a freer society. So it matters. We are advertising ourselves to the world, year of return, come to Ghana, it's a free place, and then you come up with this outrageous bill, and you expect that the government will be rushed in and will accept it. No.
All right, thank you. Thank you very much, Professor H. Kwesi Prempeh. That's where we have to end it, and that's where we end our show. Thanks very much for joining us, and I want to thank our guests, the Honorable Peter Tobu, Superintendent Retired, and also Alfred Thompson, former acting MD of NIB. My name is Jifa Bampo. Thanks to the production team. Have a good Saturday. Up next is Warm Up Plus.